Mombasa, where the Mombasa County is for the first time hosting the International Association of Maritime Economists. This is the first time the conference is being held in Africa, and our business reporter Julie Owino is covering that for us. Julie, good morning, and bring us up to date with what's happening in Mombasa.
What we're having here today at Pride in Hotel is the Institute Association of Maritime Economists. Practically, this is an event that brings together over 40 delegates from 40 different countries, and it's basically addressing the topics on maritime. And one good thing about this conference that it is being held in Africa for the very first time in the African soil, and we are yet to see how and understand how Kenya will benefit, and Africa at large as well, being that this is being held for the first time in the African soil, as this will also bring development to both counties, in Africa and also in Kenya at the same time. But right about now, I want us to understand what this conference is about, and I'm joined by Martin Mutuku from KPA, who's the head of corporate development. Martin, please tell us, first of all, how has organizing and planning for this conference been for Kenya Ports Authority? We understand there's a partnership between IME and Kenya Ports Authority. Right.
Thank you. This conference is co-organized by the Kenya Ports Authority is the main sponsor, but we've been doing it with the University of Brussels. As you rightly mentioned, this is the first time it's happening in Africa. Of course, it's happening in Kenya, Mombasa, and it's a big thing for us because we have over 40 countries represented here, delegates, professors from all over the world. The top brains in the world are converged here in Mombasa to discuss not only the issues of maritime, but also issues to do with shipping, ports, and also the issue of blue economy. So it's a big thing for us.
Right. Yeah. So what are we Kenyans expecting specifically? How are we going to benefit out of this conference?
Right. Thank you. As you might know, Kenya is planning to host a huge international conference on sustainable blue economy in November. And we see this as a sort of a launching pad. The body of knowledge that will be generated this conference is going really to help us in preparation of that bigger conference. But just to say that we have about 130 papers to be presented in this conference. And as I said, the top-notch researchers all over the world are converged here. Therefore, not only are we going to build the knowledge in terms of the maritime sector, but also Kenya. And happening for the first time in Africa, we're really going to be the flag bearer, or sort of the lead in terms of pushing the blue economy agenda. For Africa. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Let me cross over to Michael Dooms, Associate Professor. Thank you so much for joining us, Michael. I'd first of all like you to give us a brief history of the conference. How has it been since it began? And at this particular time, what are some of the things you're proud of to have improved as a result of this conference?
Well, the IME Association was founded in 1992. So we celebrated our 25th birthday last year in Japan. It has been a global affair all over. It's the leading organization of scientists in maritime economics. We have also two very distinguished journals with impact factors, which are quite high. So this is really, let's say, the community which discusses issues of maritime economics. The conference has been held all over the world in 25 years, and now it's for the first time as we start the second quarter century. It's very symbolic that we can do it in Africa for the first time.
Now, there's quite an understanding that Kenyans need to also understand, and I believe the world is also watching. What's the difference between maritime economy and blue economy?
Well, for me, I see little difference in the scope of activities within both economies. I think the blue refers to, a more integrated way of looking at how we are using the oceans and the seas as a resource. Before, or now, all these industries, these sectors benefiting from the oceans, they actually have different dockets in the ministries, different planning. And so when you look at it from a blue perspective, it means that you're going to have to look at it in a more integrated way. How can ports, for example, benefit from energy generated at the seas? How can ports benefit from aquaculture, from agriculture, from minerals on the seabed, its resources? So I think, for example, example, ports and shipping need to look at all these other sectors in the blue economy and try to find a way to exploit the common synergies. I think that's really what the blue economy is about.
All right. The blue economy seems to be quite an interesting discussion that is happening, and it's one of the key things that is going to be addressed in this conference. So what are some of the key things that people need to watch out as we diverge the direction of blue economy? What are some of the challenges that have been happening around this area of blue economy?
Well, I think the main challenge for the blue economy, as far as I'm concerned, is you have all these industries and sectors. They all have stakeholders and interests. And once you want to do it or look at the use of the oceans and the seas in a more integrated way, they all have their claims. And it will lead to conflict. And then I think the idea is how do you make sure that these conflicts are resolved? What are the interests of the stakeholders? How can we benefit the most from the oceans and the seas without, depleting resources, without actually corner certain industries because they won't have any development potential. So I think the blue economy in the end will be about a lot of compromise between stakeholders in the different industries. And I think there's also, the academic research should help. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Mike, I understand there's something else that you'd like to update us on, probably about the conference.
Right, yeah. I just mentioned that this conference, as I mentioned, is organized by the Kenya Ports Authority. And we've also been working with the local universities, University of Nairobi, Jomo Kenyatta University, that is JKUAT, Technical University of Mombasa, TUM, and also the Kenya Maritime Authority, PAMESA, that is a port organization for East and Southern Africa. And as I mentioned, of course, I've been the local chair of the organizing committee. But as mentioned, this is a big thing for us as Kenya Ports Authority, the first port in Africa to bring such a conference. And we'll be discussing, as I mentioned, not only the issues of the maritime economics, but also issues to do with the ports, ships, and also the whole subject of blue economy. Yep.
Thank you so much. Zeda, let me also brief you on some of the guests that we expect to have here today. We have His Excellency Governor Hassan Joho, who's the governor of Mombasa County. He's going to be here to talk about some of the main agenda of this function. At the same time, we have Dr. Mukhisa Kituyi, who's the Secretary General UNCTAD, who's also going to be here. This is a fair that it will go through till the 14th of September. Back to you in studio, Zeda.
All right, thank you so much, Julia Wino, for that latest update of what's happening in Mombasa County when it comes to Maritime Conference. So from Mombasa County, I'd like us to take a short commercial break here on KTN News Center. We still have a lot lined up for you, so keep it here where we bring you up to date with what is making the headlines.